Okay, and so welcome to the B17 build. This is, of course, as you can see from the title and the preview picture, it isn't being built the normal way. We're going to make a big insect out of it, a bee. And as you can see, I've already got it painted yellow, and I can see that it's an absolutely terrible paint job, and it actually just doesn't matter because this is just underlayment for the flocking. We are going to make a fuzzy bee out of it. We have the flocking bags here. We got some yellow and we got some black. And so my idea here is, and it doesn't matter that this is actually a terrible paint job, I'm just using a very old can of Rust-Oleum, and we just basically have to get the color under there because the flocking is really going to be the top surface. And so I figured it's a good opportunity to use this terrible can of paint. And so what we're going to do now, I'm not going to paint on the black parts. We of course got to put some stripes on there for the stinger and decide how on earth we're going to do that. And I don't have a plan for that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a magic marker, and we're going to be doing the black parts with magic marker. And I will decide as I go, because there's some big differences between an airplane and a bee. Of course, there's no tail fin, no rudder on a bee, and there's no wings. There are wings, but they're not these type of wings. And but you know what? It is going to come in handy because the stinger is actually going to be a tail gun, and I'll probably even sharpen that to make it look more like a stinger. But what I'm going to do with the tail, I don't know, and what I'm going to do with the wings, I don't know. Everything else makes sense. But it's probably going to be like a mostly yellow wing with some black highlights. And then the tail is just going to have to come to me. So we'll see what we have in the next scene. I think that you're going to probably assemble it mostly, and we'll have the black on there. The next scene. Let's go there. Okay, and so this is the color scheme I'm going with. Just kind of randomly did black and yellow. This is a Sharpie. Not a Sharpie, but a magic marker, permanent marker. Looks quite a bit like paint. I'm really surprised. You could paint the whole model like that. But I think I painted the stripes all the way up the tail, and I think I lined it up pretty good with top and bottom. And oh yeah, here's the glass I painted on the inside with Tester's enamel, so that the outside is always shiny. And we're getting ready to put this together. This is a snap together, but after putting it together once already just to see how it lined up, and it almost didn't come apart again, I wanted to make sure I had everything set before I do that again. And so now I think I'm ready to push it all together. And we'll see what it really looks like in the next scene. Let's go there. Okay, here's a look at the way it went together. Kind of impressive, and it's, you know, there's a real temptation to leave it like that. But no, this bee has to be fuzzy. And okay, so here's a look at the tail. And I normally would cringe. Look, I didn't color within the lines very well. And I may clean that up a little bit, but of course it doesn't matter so much because it's all going to be flocked. And those aren't going to be very precise lines anyway. Here's a look at how top and bottom halves went together, lined up pretty well. Oh, right there, there's a first prototype for a stinger. It is a sharpened toothpick. And the underside, there's bombs, because of course bees are always loaded with bombs. And look at all the little guns and everything. This little bee is armed. It will shoot at you. And you know, the with a lot of handling, if you look here, the Sharpie marker, the magic marker, as I'm wrestling with it, I had it on my fingers, pressing on the black parts. Gets the black ink on your fingers and you get it all over the model. It should be okay because it's all going to be under the flocking. And of course I have to paint those little front guns there. Terrible seam that will not press together better than this. If you're ever trying to make one of these things seamless, you're going to have to glue it together, and you're going to have to do some sanding and so on little stops on the inside, because that's at the end of the stop and it won't press together farther than that. But I'll just kind of fill that up with Mod Podge and flocking, and we'll make it look good. Speaking of which, that's next. Start painting some sections with Mod Podge and letting the flocking fall onto it, and I hope that works. Let's see. Alrighty, and here's a look at how this is going. Obviously I'm starting with the black, and I'm using the Mod Podge, and it's working. These areas here are dry, and as you rub your finger across it, the stuff stays on, which is all you can ask. And as you can see, you can sort of see through it a little bit, so it is a really good idea that I painted underneath it. All that extra there, let's see if I can find, yeah, that all will, see that? It's not permanently like that. But, making my way around there, so I'm very carefully applying the Mod Podge with these kind of little bamboo spatulas, kind of like toothpick. There's a toothpick, bigger than a toothpick, so it's kind of like icing a cake, but you have really precise control, so you can do things such as, where is this, see there, you can, there. So then that's actually more of a precise line than that. It looks like that. And I don't know what else to say. It's just working pretty good. So you put the Mod Podge on. You sprinkle on the flocking. Wait for it to dry. Move on. Just wanted to give a look at an in-progress picture before it's all flocked. Okay, and we'll see you in the next scene. Okay, and here's a look at the big mess I'm making. I'm doing all this within this drawer. I actually built the whole model within the drawer. And it's working out good. It catches all the flocking, and you kind of keep reusing it and so on without having to go to the bag. And all the black part is done, and I just have to blow it off or something to get all the black off, because we're getting ready to start the yellow. I think, yeah, let me clean it off and show you what it really looks like. There we go. I mean, it really looks, I mean, there is a temptation to leave it like that with the yellow part shiny and the black parts fuzzy. But, you know, you'll never know what it looks like completely fuzzy unless you make it completely fuzzy. So, we gotta do it. But I just wanted to get a good picture of it at this stage. Okay, that's it. Next scene, it will be fuzzy, all fuzzy. Okay, so here we are now. I really like the look of this. I want to get some pictures of this like this. But the entire top is done now. And taking a look at the tail, here is a peek at the way it's going to look. You know, minus all the kind of overspray. I'm going to say overspray so that somebody can correct me. But all the yellow flocking that's gotten into the black is not stuck there, so it's just a matter of lightly blowing and brushing it with a dry brush to get it out. That's how I got it all off the tail there, the vertical. And that will work on the rest of this here. So the top is all flocked, and I really like the way it looks. I mean, I like the way it looks more. And I did go to the trouble of doing the pillars are also fuzzy. You'll see in a minute. Anyway, I wanted to get this in progress picture because it looks really cool. And then I will flip it over and finish the yellow on the bottom. But, you know, just like we made a mess with the black, we have now made a mess with the yellow. This is fun. Only like twice now I've made the mistake of blowing really hard right where it is and have basically the room fill up with powder. It is a very, very light blowing you have to do to get this stuff off. Anyway, on to the next scene. The next scene may be the plane completely done. That'll be cool. Let's go there. Okay, and there we go. We are done with the flocking. I like showing it in this stage before you shake off and blow off the excess because it looks fuzzier than you can even actually make it. But now we've got to start the long process of very gently blowing and brushing away all the excess and get all the yellow off of the black parts. And that will be in the next scene. It should look really good. Okay, there is the defuzzed, slightly cleaned up, mostly cleaned up, finished. That's the way it's going to look. And I'll continue to get the, if you look up really close, we still have some yellow where the black is and maybe black where the yellow is, I don't know. Let me flip it over. There we go. I like how this part stayed really fuzzy. Now this is my first time flocking, so I don't know why some parts were extra fuzzy and some parts kind of thin. I don't know. Yeah, we've got to get some yellow off the black. But, of course, I still have to work on the stinger idea. I'll come up with something better or continue to modify that. I don't know, what would be neat. Okay, so B-17 has two tail guns. I got a kind of an idea to do a double stinger. I don't know. But I also have a diorama idea. I've got a thing that I bought for the diorama. I imagine you'll see in the next scene. And it's like 4 o'clock in the morning here. I am really anxious to get it outside to get some pictures, so maybe in the next scene, I don't know. Otherwise it will be starting to work on the diorama and the stinger should be done. So we'll see you in the next scene. Okay, and so now for the next step, we are going to be setting up the diorama. And so when you have a bee, what do you need? You need one of these. A bee needs to pollinate a flower, and so we got this thing at Michael's. It is a big plastic flower, and it's got a long stem on it, so I've got to cut the stem. And basically we're going to stick this into a piece of wood, and we're going to cut a coat hanger, stick it up into the Bombay, and make it look like, you know, it's pollinating the flower. Anyway, that's what we're doing next, and that's probably what you'll see next. Okay, and so this is the final result. I have it mounted on this piece of wood where I drilled some holes and stuck these things in there permanently. I've got a couple of different positions for the plane itself. I may want to move it forward to that other hole, but I don't know. I'm just filming this final scene. We'll take a nice good look at it. I hated to cut that much off the flower, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So let's get a closer look at the plane. This is what it looks like when it's done with its final cleanup. The stinger is the same toothpick that I had in there. I just finally painted it black and put it in the center. And I basically just filled it with Mod Podge and stuck it in there. You can see it's still not dry. Once that's dry, it will be clear. Let me try to get a look underneath here. Of course, there's no light under here. But there's basically no look at how I mounted it. I put like 4 stiff wires on the end of this wire and jammed it up in the Bombay. But yeah, let's get a closer look at this stuff up here. Very fuzzy engines, just like a real bee. And so it's just coming in to pollinate this flower, or possibly to shoot it. And there we go, B17. I just try to get a shot on the outside, out in the sun, so that we can see that. But there you go.